with the other sessions we have with our partners, the Connect Exchange, and also to be able to offer services such as Salesforce implementation configuration, custom build applications, and stellar support, including our virtual admin offering. And we've got you covered for everything. I would like to remind you that this session will be recorded. So with that, let's start. Today we'll be covering the CMS featured opportunities listing block. But before I jump into that, let me introduce myself. My name is Alfredo Bocalandro, and I lead the team here at Hands-On Connect. I'm glad to be here with you today. Our session today should be about 20 minutes, and hopefully it'll be quick and informative. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to our team. And my email is there if you want to reach out directly to me. So what are we looking at today? We're going to be looking at two of our advanced CMS blocks. The first one is the featured opportunity block. The second is the listing block. But before we go into these two blocks, let me do a little refresher on our CMS and what is a block. So our CMS starts with a page, and a page can be anything like for your home page, an About Us page, a donation page, a search page, and the page contains regions. And within those regions, you usually have more than one on a page, and it's usually you have at least one header and one footer, and you have at least one content area. And within these regions, you have the blocks, and this is really where the fun happens. This is the functional part of the CMS. This is how you get content onto your website. So we have many types of blocks, among them the WYSIWYG, which is our most used block because this is how you insert text and headers and things like that onto your page. But we also have other types of blocks like forms and sliders and images. And today we're going to be covering two of those, the featured opportunity and the listing block. Now, these two blocks are what we call advanced blocks. The way we have our block structure is we have standard blocks, which are designed to be easy and intuitive. We also have some intermediate blocks that are still easy to use, but might require a little bit more training or reading of documentation to use. And then we have the advanced blocks that are designed to deliver functionality and are not necessarily easy to use, but allow you to do things that can be interesting for you. They're also not enabled by default, which means you have to request that they be enabled. And these two blocks in particular that we're looking at today are in preview mode, which means they may require a special install depending on the template you're on. And not all the features are built out, and we're still tweaking them. So there might be some things that still need to be worked out. Now, what's special about these two blocks? Well, they allow you to group on a page content and data in a way that they can be pre-filtered and displayed in different ways. So the basis of these blocks are three things, are basically where is your data coming from, how you're organizing it, and how you're displaying it. So let's start where your data is coming from. These two blocks allow you to grab data either from your CMS itself, from your volunteer opportunities, therefore from Salesforce, and in the future we'll be adding a feature that allows you to be able to pull other data from Salesforce. Once you know what your data source is going to be, what you can do with the blocks, and this is really where the magic happens, is the blocks allow you to organize this data in a specific way, and then display it in one of three modes. So if we start with the featured opportunity block, this block allows you to basically grab your opportunities, list them on a page, and pre-filter them and display them in the way that works best for you. So it allows you to organize them by type of opportunity, by issue area, appropriate for, post date, upcoming, and custom filters. I'm going to be doing a live demo of this, so you'll see these in action. And as far as rendering them on your site, you can display them as a grid, list, or slider. Think of this as a more elegant way of doing your traditional safe searches. That feature has been around in Hands-On Connect 3.0 and 3.0 and 2.0 for a while, if you're familiar with that feature. So the key to the featured opportunity block is how you organize the data. As far as the content, there's not much you need to worry about because it's opportunities and it connects to your Salesforce instance and it will pull all your active opportunities. but then you have the opportunity to filter it so that you can display the opportunities you want for that specific page. So with that, why don't we see this block in action? So I've set up a quick example here of opportunities. So I created a page in my CMS, and I am listing some opportunities. Now, how did I get these opportunities here? Well, it was pretty easy. I went to my block, down to my featured opportunities, and I added a block. Now, since this is a short webinar, I went ahead and created one already, which is this featured opportunity right here, which is the same block I'm displaying here. So let's open it in edit mode and see what we can do with this. You'll see the top is pretty standard for most of our blocks. The block has a name, it has a region where you place it, and it has a title. But what makes this block different from the rest is this section down here. So on my left, I can establish our criteria. This is how I'm going to filter the opportunities coming into this block. And you'll see that you can do it by most recent posted, upcoming, and nearest. So maybe on your home page, you want to have a short list of opportunities that are upcoming, and you can create a block called upcoming opportunities, or the most recent that have been posted, or geographically, which are the nearest to that particular volunteer who's searching at the moment. You can also do it by type. Maybe you want to combine it within our criteria, or you just want to show individually scheduled expressed interest only, or day or time specific. You can also create it for a specific issue area. I'm going to talk about the custom filter in a second. And then you can do appropriate for. And this basically has, if you wanted to create a section just for teens, this is how you would create that listing just for teens. And you have a couple more down here, as you can see. Now, if you have a very specific filtering requirement, maybe you want to list them by event or something like that, there is a way of doing a custom filter. Basically, and I'm not going to get into that today. This is one of the items we're still working on. But basically, you will be able to put a tag on the opportunity, and based on that tag, filter them out this way. And then on the right-hand side, you can select the display mode. Basically, how are these going to show up on the page you set up that you're displaying these? So you have three options. You can do a slider, a list, or a grid. And depending on which one you select, these controls behave a little bit differently down here. So why don't we start with a grid? And I'm gonna set up a grid. I'm gonna tell it to show me 9 per page. Okay, and I'm gonna ask him to show the opportunity title, the location, the date and time, and a short description. So you're not doing anything here. Basically, all you're doing is setting the display and the filtering, and the block itself is going out to your instance of Salesforce and pulling this data. And you'll see there I have a grid. Since I only asked it to show 9, and obviously there's tons of them because I'm filtering basically for every opportunity that's listed, it automatically puts my pagination at the bottom. We also have a feature, and we're adding a feature which is also being worked on that you can show an image. I'm going to click on that and show you how it looks, except that for this demo we don't have images, but it will show you how that might display. So those gray boxes with the little photo icon would be where your photos would be. You do have to go to your opportunities and set these up. And once again, this is not immediately available, but it will be available soon. The other thing you can do is instead of a grid, you can display it as a list. And if I save this as a list, it will do probably exactly what you're thinking. Instead of a grid, it will put it in list mode. And the same as the grid mode, I can choose to show the image, and it will simply place the image on the left-hand side. And then the last mode is the slider. Now, the slider is the one that you might have to test a couple of times, because it does, you might not be able to get, if I leave 9 here, the page is probably not wide enough to get all those 9. So let me take it down maybe to 5 and see how that looks. And if it looks good, I could leave it that way. And you'll see that it has the slider controls at the bottom, so you can scroll that way. And once again, similar to the other display modes, I can also show an image as in the slider. And that, in a nutshell, is your feature opportunity blocks. Once it's enabled, you would have access to this, and it's just a matter of you setting the filtering so that you can pull the opportunities you want, setting how you want to display it, playing around a little bit with this to get it displayed the way you want it, and then it's ready to go. So what we just reviewed was the featured opportunity block. Let's look at the listing block. The listing block is very similar to the feature opportunity block, but instead of working with opportunities, it works with content. And what we mean by that, it allows you to organize your CMS pages in a way that you can present it as we saw with the featured opportunity block. The organization part of it is done with the content type, and it allows you to display items as a grid, list, or slider. So going back to that diagram of how I connect my content or data to the output I want on my screen, is you'll see that the content type will be filtered. The content will be filtered using content types. So I'm going to walk you through this because this is a little bit more. This has a little bit more steps, and I think this will reflect why this is more of an advanced feature. So now I'm looking at a listing block, and you'll see that it's very similar to my feature opportunity block. Then, in a sense, it allows me to list content. Now, this is great if you're setting up a newsroom, a blog, or any type of listing of your content. Now, how do I get the content I want listed here? Well, if I open my listing block in edit mode, there's a key component here. If you remember, the feature block had all this filtering. In this case, there's only one thing you're looking for, is your content type. So you'll select your content type here, and this is how it will know that that's the content it needs to pull into this block. So let's go find out how I set up that content type. Well, if you go to the top left where your pages are, which you're probably familiar with, once this is enabled, you'll have another option called content type. And this is pretty simple. Basically, all you will do is set up a content type. You can call it news, blog, whatever is appropriate to what you're setting up. It has a feature that you can nest it. So basically, if you have a content type that's a child of another one, you can do it here. I'm not going to cover that today, but just know that it's available. Once you set this up, and this is all you need to do to set it up, it's available to all your content. So if I go to my pages, I created a couple pages, which I conveniently all named News 1, 2, 3, so I could find them quickly. And let's go to the last one I created, News 5. You will see that this at the top is just as any other page. It's just basically a page with content. I set up my header. I added a picture to this page and some text, as you would do almost with any WYSIWYG or standard text page. The difference is that I checked this option here that says content type and summary. So this will appear once this module is enabled. And if you check that, two things will appear. One is content types, and if I wanted to show up to be grouped under my news, all I have to do is check that. Notice that I can have the same page listed in multiple content types. So that way, it's an easy way to reuse content you have in different places of your website. And the other thing that showed up was this summary. So this is basically what shows up in the box of the listing. And then when you click on the read more or the learn more or however you want to label the click through for this, it will take you to the main page. So with that, I'm going to cancel out of that, and then I'm going to go back to my blog here, and I'm going to click on edit mode. And so similar to the feature, to most blocks, to all our blocks, you're going to be able to name your block, tell it where it should show up, and give it a title, and then this is specific to this block. So since this is a way of creating a list that if you click through, it will take you to the full content of that listing item. You need a link or a button to do that. So you can select the text you want to have. It can be read more, learn more, click here, whatever you want. And then similar to the featured opportunity block, you can select how you want this displayed. You can choose if you want the link displayed or not. The reason you might turn this off is you might want to. You can use the header link to get to the content, or you might want to put it directly in the image. If you want to display the summary, and also what content types this belongs to. So in this case, it's the news, and then I can select how I want my content sorted, either when it was posted or created, or alphabetically. I also have a couple more features here. I can display a search. So if I set this up as if I have a lot of content that doesn't all fit on one page, I can add a search, and it will only search within this listing block. So it won't search all your site. So think about when you go to someone's website and you go through a blog. If you do a search, most likely that search only runs on the blog itself. You can display pagination, and you can also decide the number of items you want in each. So at the moment we're showing this as a standard listing block, and because we're showing all the every single item, I only have 5 news items. It's not showing me any pagination here. Now, if I said I only want to display 2, this is what I meant to say. You'll notice that I have items per page 2. Now, the reason it still shows me 5 is because I haven't activated the pagination. So these two work together. So if I activate my pagination, then I can control the amount of items I want on that page. So I will save this. And you'll see that now it's displaying 2, and it gives me pagination to get to the other pages. Now, if I wanted to show this as a grid, all I would have to do is switch here, save it. And now I have it in grid format. And if I wanted to do this as a slider, I would select slider, save it. And now I can paginate as a slider. Right now I'm showing 2 at a time. If I wanted to say show 3 at a time, all I would have to do is change this to 3 down here. And now I'm showing it as 3. I will just click on a couple other things so you can see how they work. So let's say that I wanted this to act more as a blog. So I will maybe I'll put it back in list mode, and because I have 100 blog posts, although I have the pagination enabled, I also want to add the ability to search. So if I save this with the search on, you'll see that it put a search here. And why don't I just put it's like citizens here? Just make sure there's not a blank space up there. And you'll see that it found that article. It also found this second article, and it's the only two it found because it has 2 pages. So this article must have citizens somewhere in it. But basically now I've really easily created my newsroom. I could have done a blog. I could have done many things here, but these are basically the features we have now on the listing on the listing block. The last thing I was going to show you is that if you did use subtypes, which means you nested your content types, you could add them here. So any content type that's nested under the one you created here would be listed. And with that, that's pretty much the listing block. To request these blocks, open a ticket with our support team. You can request one or both. It may take up to 2 weeks to activate and configure. Remember that not all the features I showed are active right now. There's such as the image and some of those things like that, but they will be available real soon. And remember that the blocks are in preview. Upcoming webinars, Thursday, August 3rd, we'll have the Connect University for the Form Builder Advanced. This is the follow-up to last week's webinar. If you didn't catch it, it's available on our website and under our videos. And on August 10th, we're going to be doing picking the right volunteer opportunity type. As you know, we've introduced new types and much more flexible and much more powerful. So if you've been around Hands-On Connect a long time, it's probably still worth your time to go to see what we've done recently. And if you've missed any of our webinars, feel free to go to the link below that's shown here at the bottom, and they should be all there, recorded and ready to go. And this one should be up there soon. Well, thank you very much for attending. We hope to see you at our next webinars. And happy list blocking and feature opportunity blocking.